The stars above Earth sparkled peacefully as the Varnax Legion's massive fleet drifted silently through space, heading straight for the planet. The Varnax Legion, a ruthless alien empire, had been dominating the galaxy for centuries. Their technology was far beyond anything Earth could ever imagine. They had crushed civilizations on countless planets, their superior firepower and devastating weapons leaving no room for resistance. The thought of another empire challenging their rule was laughable. The Varnax Legion's fleet was unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Gigantic warships that glowed with an eerie, dark blue light hovered in space. Their engines thrummed with power, a sound that could make lesser species quiver in fear. The fleet was led by General Kor, a ruthless and calculating alien commander who had never known defeat. He believed that no one, not even the strongest forces in the galaxy, could stop his empire. But Earth was about to prove him wrong. At first, the Varnax Legion had no reason to take Earth seriously. From their point of view, the humans were just another primitive species in a backwater part of the galaxy. They had no advanced technology, no powerful weapons, and no defenses worth considering. In fact, Earth was hardly on anyone's radar until the day the Varnax fleet made its move. General Kor's eyes gleamed as he stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching Earth's position grow closer. His mind raced with strategies, preparing to wipe out the planet and claim it for the Legion. As the fleet entered the final stretch of its journey, he gave the command to begin the invasion. "Prepare the fleet for orbital bombardment," he ordered, his voice cold and commanding. The alien soldiers, who had been trained for such an operation countless times, nodded in unison. However, as the Varnax fleet neared Earth's atmosphere, something unexpected happened. An invisible force seemed to block their path, throwing off their systems. Ships started to shake as their shields were disrupted. General Kor narrowed his eyes and ordered his officers to scan the area. "What is this?" Kor growled, staring at the blinking lights on his console. The fleet's advanced sensors were showing a massive energy field surrounding Earth. This was no ordinary shield, it was far more sophisticated and powerful than anything they had encountered before. "We can't identify the source, General," an officer reported, his voice filled with confusion. "It's unlike anything we've seen. It's blocking our systems." Kor's mind raced as he processed the information. This wasn't part of the plan. This wasn't something they had anticipated. He had expected a simple, straightforward conquest, bombard the surface, crush the human resistance, and move on. Instead, his fleet was now at a standstill, with Earth's defenses challenging everything they had taken for granted. "Activate the battle shields," General Kor ordered. His voice was now tinged with urgency, but there was a growing sense of determination. He would not be defeated by an unknown force. The fleet's battle shields came to life, shimmering in the dark expanse of space. However, something even more unexpected happened next. Earth's defenses weren't just blocking their systems, they were fighting back. A strange, pulsing energy suddenly erupted from the planet's surface, sending shockwaves through space. The Varnax ships, so used to dominating every planet they attacked, now found themselves scrambling to respond. The strange energy hit the first few ships, causing them to flicker and lose power. The alien fleet's sophisticated targeting systems began to malfunction, their once unstoppable weapon systems now erratic and unreliable. General Kor gritted his teeth, his eyes narrowing in anger. This was no ordinary resistance. Something far more advanced was happening here. "Deploy the battle cruisers," he ordered, his voice strained. "We'll attack from all sides. No defense can stand against us." But as soon as the alien fleet launched their battle cruisers, another wave of energy shot up from Earth's surface, even stronger than before. This time, it wasn't just some kind of force field. Earth's technology was responding. Earth wasn't just defending itself, it was fighting back. Out of nowhere, cloaking devices began to shimmer into existence around Earth. Entire sections of the planet seemed to disappear from the alien fleet sensors, leaving them confused and unable to track their target. These cloaking devices weren't something the aliens had ever seen before. It was as if Earth had been holding a hidden power, just waiting for the right moment to unleash it. Then, the alien fleet's most advanced weapon systems were suddenly rendered useless. Earth's electromagnetic pulses surged up from the surface, disabling entire swathes of the Varnak's fleet. The alien ships were no longer able to fire their deadly lasers or target Earth's defenses with their precision weapons. It was as if the planet itself had just flipped a switch, and the Varnak's legion's once mighty weapons were now as useless as toys in the hands of children. General Kor stood frozen for a moment, staring at his screens in disbelief. His mind struggled to process what was happening. Earth, a backwater planet with no advanced technologies, was suddenly fighting like a force to be reckoned with. We need to reassess," Kor muttered under his breath. "This is not how this was supposed to go." His officers scrambled to reconfigure their attack strategies, but it was clear that the alien fleet was now facing an enemy they had not prepared for. The humans, who had been dismissed as insignificant, were proving to be anything but. They were no longer helpless prey, they had just shown the galaxy that they could stand up to the Varnak's legion, and they had done it in the most unexpected way. Earth's defenses, which had once seemed laughable to the alien invaders, were now posing a serious challenge to the Varnak's fleet's superiority. The sudden shift in power was palpable, and General Kor could feel the tension building inside his own ship. For the first time in his career, he felt a flicker of doubt. As Earth's defenses continued to disrupt the alien fleet, General Kor knew one thing for certain: this wasn't going to be a quick victory. In fact, Earth might be the first planet in centuries to stand a chance against the Varnak's legion. He clenched his fists. He wasn't about to let this unexpected force of nature defeat him. Earth would fall, just like every other planet before it. But deep down, he couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that this time, things might not be so easy. And so, the battle began, Earth versus the Varnak's legion, a fight that would change the course of the galaxy forever. The battle was now in full swing. The Varnak's legion, which had never once met resistance they couldn't overcome, had just launched their first attack on Earth. Their colossal warships unleashed devastating energy beams, weapons capable of obliterating entire cities in seconds. The sky above Earth shimmered as the deadly rays of destruction shot down, aimed directly at the planet's surface. The people of Earth watched in terror, unsure how they could survive the onslaught of such advanced weaponry. However, when the beams made contact with Earth's atmosphere, something impossible happened. The energy beams didn't hit their targets. Instead, they bounced off a powerful energy shield, harmlessly reflecting back towards the alien ships that had fired them. The Varnak's fleet's commanding officers watched in utter disbelief as their own weapons turned against them. The beams, which had been designed to cut through any defense, now spiraled back, damaging their own ships. It was chaos in the alien fleet. The Varnak's legion's ships, usually the ones in control, began to fall apart as their own firepower returned to haunt them. The huge ships shuddered, their outer hulls cracking from the force of the reflected beams. The Varnak's fleet, once invincible, had just experienced the first taste of real fear. The devastation wasn't just in the damage, it was in the confusion. Their advanced technology, their supercomputers, and their vast network of interlinked systems couldn't make sense of what was happening. General Kor, still on the bridge of his flagship, stared at his monitors with disbelief. His fleet, which had been so confident just moments ago, was now in disarray. The attack had backfired, and their most advanced weaponry had been turned against them. His ships were falling, one by one, as Earth's defense systems continued to reflect their attacks with seemingly no effort at all. "What is going on?" Kor shouted, his voice filled with a mixture of confusion and anger. "Our weapons, how can they reflect off this planet's shields?" A calm voice broke through the chaos. "General, we're detecting signal distortions. Our systems cannot interpret the data coming from the surface. It's as if their technology is beyond us." Kor turned sharply. What do you mean, beyond us? I mean it's not something we can understand. It's like we're facing a force that shouldn't exist, the officer replied. We've never encountered technology like this before. Our supercomputers can't compute the data accurately. Kor clenched his fists, fury building inside him. It doesn't matter. We'll adapt. Initiate a full-scale bombardment. We'll break through their defenses and crush them like every other planet we've conquered. But despite Kor's commands, his fleet was struggling. The alien supercomputers that guided their weapons were failing to make sense of Earth's mysterious technology. There was something fundamentally different about Earth, something they couldn't comprehend. They had assumed that their technology was the pinnacle of the universe, but now, for the first time, they were facing an unknown power. Meanwhile, on Earth, the situation was growing more intense. The Varnax Legion had underestimated humanity, and Earth was now proving to be more than a simple target. At the heart of Earth's defenses was Captain Dorian, one of the best strategists and military commanders Earth had ever known. His mind raced as he watched the battle unfold, seeing the damage the alien fleet was inflicting on his planet. Report. Captain Dorian barked, his voice calm despite the chaos. His eyes were locked on the holographic displays in front of him. He could see the alien fleet firing relentlessly, trying to break through Earth's defenses. Captain, the alien fleet is trying to adjust their fire, a lieutenant said, his voice full of urgency. We need to prepare for their next wave. Dorian nodded. He had been expecting this. Earth's defenses had held for now, but the aliens would learn. And when they did, Earth would need to respond with everything they had. Activate our countermeasures, Dorian ordered, his voice sharp. And assemble the team. We're going on the offensive. Captain Dorian's Special Operations Team, known as the Vanguard, was Earth's most elite unit, trained for the most dangerous missions. Dorian had spent years preparing for the moment when Earth would face an invasion like this. They weren't just going to sit back and wait for the alien fleet to destroy them, they were going to strike back. But they needed the right weapons, weapons that could pierce the Varnax shields, and for that, Dorian had developed a plan. Team, you all know what's at stake. We're about to launch the biggest counterattack Earth has ever seen, Dorian said, addressing his team, which stood around a holographic map of the alien fleet. These aliens think they have the upper hand. They think they can just bomb us into submission. But we've got something they don't expect. His voice carried the weight of experience and determination. We've developed weapons that can bypass their shields. We'll hit them hard and fast. Get in, take down their outer defenses, and get out. We've trained for this, and we're ready. The members of the Vanguard nodded, their faces determined. Each of them had undergone years of grueling training for moments like this. They weren't just soldiers, they were humanity's last hope. Dorian's plan was simple but deadly. They would use specially designed airstrikes, guided by advanced AI systems, to target the vulnerable points in the Varnax ship's shields. The alien shields were powerful, yes, but they had one major flaw: patterns. The same patterns that Earth's new weapons could exploit. Commence the first wave of airstrikes, Dorian ordered. The team scrambled to their stations, and the first wave of missiles was launched into the sky. They streaked through the atmosphere, designed to home in on the alien fleet's weak spots. As the missiles reached the target, the Varnax ship still tried to adapt. Their shields flickered as they tried to defend against the incoming attack, but it was too late. The missiles hit with pinpoint accuracy, bypassing the alien shields and striking the Varnax ships directly. Explosions rocked the fleet as several of the alien warships lost power and control. For the first time, the Varnax Legion was forced to react, scrambling to repair their ships and adapt their defenses to the unexpected assault. Kor's voice crackled over the comms, furious. What are they doing? How are they getting through our shields? His officers tried to answer, but the answer was clear: Earth was no longer the defenseless planet it once seemed to be. Its people, led by Captain Dorian and his team, had found a way to fight back, using tactics, strategy, and advanced weapons that the Varnax Legion hadn't accounted for. As the alien fleet began to struggle against the unexpected resistance, the fight was far from over. But one thing was certain, Earth was no longer just a target. The Varnax Legion had awakened a sleeping giant, and the battle for the planet was only just beginning. The alien fleet hovered ominously above Earth, its ships casting shadows over the planet. For weeks, they had attacked with overwhelming force, confident that nothing could stand in their way. Their weapons, their shields, and their advanced technology made them appear invincible. But Earth had shown them something different. The tables were slowly beginning to turn. General Kor, the Varnax Legion's ruthless leader, had long prided himself on his fleet's superiority. No other empire had been able to withstand their power, and Earth, with its primitive technology, was supposed to be no different. But as he stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching his ship struggle to keep up with the unexpected counterattacks, his confidence began to crack. His fleet had been struck by the Earth's missiles and fighter jets, each attack more devastating than the last. Despite their superior technology, they were finding it difficult to adapt. The Varnax ships were built to fight in space, where they had almost complete control, but Earth's unique terrain, its atmosphere, its air superiority, was starting to turn the tide. The alien fleet's advanced targeting systems couldn't handle the agility and unpredictability of Earth's aircraft, which were flying at high speeds, dodging enemy fire and launching deadly strikes with pinpoint precision. General Kor clenched his fists as he watched one of his larger warships take a direct hit, its shields flickering and then collapsing under the pressure of Earth's missile barrage. The ship exploded into a massive fireball, debris scattering across space. Kor couldn't believe what he was seeing. How was this possible? His fleet had never faced this kind of resistance before. "We've underestimated them," Kor muttered, his voice filled with frustration. "This planet, this primitive planet, has more tricks up its sleeve than we anticipated." Meanwhile, on Earth, the human forces were fighting with all their might, using every ounce of their creativity and resourcefulness. Captain Dorian and his team were on the front lines, coordinating airstrikes and directing missiles to strike key points on the alien ships. Earth's military forces had been quick to adapt, but the battle was still far from won. Every victory, no matter how small, came at a cost. It was during one of the most intense missions that the humans felt the true weight of their struggle. Captain Dorian's best friend, Bonner, a brave soldier who had been with him through countless battles, was part of the team sent on an explosive mission to cripple one of the Varnax's flagship vessels. Bonner was always the first to charge into battle, ready to face any challenge head-on. His fearless nature made him a symbol of hope for Earth's forces. But that day, Bonner didn't make it back. The mission was supposed to be a simple strike. The Vanguard team had planted explosives on the alien warship, aiming to take down its central power core. Everything was going according to plan until the unthinkable happened. As Bonner set the final charge, the ship's defense systems activated, launching an unexpected counterattack. A burst of energy hit Bonner directly, and he was thrown back, his body crumpling as the explosion enveloped him. The entire team watched in horror as their friend and comrade was lost in an instant. Captain Dorian felt his heart drop. The grief was immediate, and the pain was unbearable. Bonner had been more than just a soldier, he had been a brother in arms. Now, he was gone. But Bonner's death wasn't just a personal loss. It was a turning point for the entire human force. In the face of this tragic loss, Earth's soldiers didn't falter. Instead, they felt a deep surge of unity. The loss of their comrade pushed them all to fight harder, to honor his memory by never backing down. They could not allow Bonner's sacrifice to be in vain. "Stay focused," Captain Dorian shouted through the comms, his voice filled with determination despite the pain. "Bonner would have wanted us to finish this. We fight for him. We fight for Earth." The rest of the team, filled with a renewed sense of purpose, pushed forward with even more ferocity. The enemy was stronger, but humanity was determined. They would not be defeated. Meanwhile, on the Varnak's flagship, General Kor watched as Earth's forces continued to attack with unrelenting force. His ships were being torn apart, their shields weakening under the pressure. The energy from Earth's attacks wasn't just physical, it was psychological. His soldiers were beginning to panic, and their advanced technology was failing to cope with the human tactics. Kor's mind raced. He needed a solution, and he needed it fast. Earth's technology was proving to be more advanced in some ways than he had anticipated. But there was one thing he hadn't considered: Earth's AI systems. The humans had developed their own artificial intelligence, and they were using it in ways that even Kor hadn't thought possible. Earth's AI, initially underestimated by the Varnak's forces, was now a game-changer. It had spent hours analyzing the Varnak's fleet systems, studying their code and weaknesses. What Earth's AI found was something the aliens had missed: a flaw in the Varnak's shields. The shields, though advanced, operated on a pattern that Earth's AI could exploit. Within minutes, Earth's AI had developed a plan to disable the alien shields temporarily. It was a risky move, but one that could give humanity the upper hand. "Activate the EMP pulse," Captain Dorian ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos. The pulse, designed to disrupt electronic systems, was a last-ditch effort to level the playing field. If it worked, it would disable the alien fleet's shields for a critical period of time, allowing Earth's forces to strike. The EMP pulse was fired from Earth's hidden defense base, a series of satellites that had been positioned in orbit to assist with just such an operation. As the pulse traveled through the atmosphere, it collided with the alien fleet's energy fields. For a split second, everything went silent. And then, the unimaginable happened. The Varnak's fleet's shields faltered. It was as if a switch had been flipped, and the protective barriers that had once been impenetrable now flickered and cracked. For the first time in the battle, the Varnak's ships were exposed. General Kor stared in disbelief. His fleet, the one he had believed was invincible, was now vulnerable. The EMP pulse had worked. "Attack now!" Captain Dorian shouted, his voice crackling with urgency. The human forces, knowing this was their moment, launched a full-scale assault. Missiles, fighter jets, and ground forces all converged on the alien fleet, hitting it with everything they had. For the Varnak's Legion, this was the turning point. They had underestimated Earth, and now they were paying the price. Their once unbeatable fleet was in disarray, and the humans had seized the initiative. The battle was far from over, but the tide had turned. Humanity had proven that they were not the weaklings the Varnak's Legion had thought them to be. They had fought with honor, with strategy, and with the strength of their fallen comrades driving them forward. The Varnak's Legion was no longer the only force in the galaxy to be feared. The Varnak's Legion had long been feared across the galaxy. Their ships were massive, their weapons powerful, and their fleet unstoppable. General Kor, leading the charge against Earth, had never considered the possibility of failure. The invasion was supposed to be quick. It was supposed to be easy. But as Earth's forces continued to adapt and fight back, Kor's confidence began to waver. In the beginning, when the first waves of the Varnak's fleet arrived on Earth's doorstep, humanity was overwhelmed. The alien ships unleashed devastating beams, and the world trembled beneath their might. Earth's military was nowhere near a match for such power. Many believed the human race was doomed, that this would be the end of civilization as they knew it. But the people of Earth had something the Varnaks had underestimated: resilience. They had something even more important: determination. As the battles continued, Earth's soldiers began to find their rhythm. What was once considered weak, Earth's old technology, was now being adapted, re-engineered, and used in new ways. Weapons were upgraded, strategies were developed, and every day brought new surprises for the invaders. The Varnak's fleet, once so confident in their superiority, was starting to feel the strain. Their ships' shields, once thought impenetrable, were now being breached by Earth's missiles, EMP pulses, and sophisticated weaponry. The alien forces were forced to retreat and regroup, their invincibility shattered. And General Kor, once the proud commander of a perfect military machine, now had to face the grim reality: Earth's resistance was no longer just a nuisance. It was a serious threat. Kor's mind raced as he studied his fleet status. The damage was significant. Multiple ships were disabled, and many of his commanders were reporting failed systems. The humans were relentless, finding new ways to exploit the weaknesses in the Varnak's technology. The Earth forces, who had been underestimated, had proven that their unity and ingenuity could hold their own against the most advanced empire in the galaxy. "General," one of Kor's subordinates said cautiously, "we need to reconsider our strategy. Earth's forces are not as weak as we thought. They're adapting too quickly." Kor glared at the officer, his patience wearing thin. "I know," he muttered. "But we have the power to end this. We just need to push harder." The Alien Council, far across the galaxy, had been monitoring the progress of the invasion with increasing concern. News of Earth's unexpected resistance had reached their ears, and now the Council was debating their next move. Some of the Council members wanted to retreat, cut their losses, and regroup. But the majority were adamant that the Varnak's Legion could still crush Earth with their superior weapons. They believed the humans were merely delaying the inevitable. General Kor was given the final go-ahead for one last attack, a plan he believed would end the war. His fleet would launch a final, decisive strike, overwhelming Earth with everything they had. All of Earth's defenses would be crushed, and humanity would be forced to surrender. But the alien fleet had underestimated the humans' ability to adapt. As the Council approved the plan, they failed to take into account one crucial detail: Earth had one final weapon up its sleeve. On Earth, Captain Dorian and his team were preparing for what they knew would be the most difficult phase of the war. They had studied the alien fleet's movements, observed their tactics, and devised a counterattack that would strike at the heart of the Varnak's Legion. Dorian, standing in front of a large display screen showing the layout of the alien fleet, spoke with quiet resolve. "This is it. We have one chance to stop them. If we fail now, it's over. We need to strike fast, hit them hard, and leave them no time to react." The team, gathered around him, nodded in agreement. They had already lost too much. Bonner's death weighed heavily on all of them. They couldn't let it all be in vain. The humans' final assault began with the launch of a massive orbital bombardment. Satellites equipped with high-powered energy weapons locked onto the Varnak's fleet and began to fire. The sheer power of the bombardment was overwhelming, and for the first time, General Kor's confidence truly began to crack. One by one, the alien ships took direct hits from Earth's orbital lasers, their shields flickering and failing as they struggled to protect themselves. Ships that had once been untouchable now lay vulnerable, their hulls riddled with craters and massive damage. For the first time in the entire invasion, the Varnak's fleet was being forced to retreat. General Kor, still unwilling to accept defeat, ordered his fleet to regroup and prepare for a counterattack. But Earth's forces were already one step ahead. As the alien ships tried to reorganize, Earth's military forces launched their next phase, a ground assault. Captain Dorian's soldiers were now moving into position, preparing to face the alien commanders in a series of close-quarter combat situations. With advanced weapons in hand and new tactics learned from the ongoing battles, the humans moved with deadly precision. They were no longer afraid of the aliens. They had seen the destruction the Varnaks could bring, but now, they were ready to turn the tables. The fighting on the ground was brutal. Alien soldiers, once so confident in their strength, now found themselves facing human forces that fought with a fury they had never expected. Earth's soldiers charged into battle, taking on the Varnak's commanders with everything they had. Laser rifles, explosives, and close combat knives all became tools of survival in the deadly confrontation. The alien commanders, who had once thought of Earth's soldiers as nothing more than an inconvenience, now found themselves struggling. The humans fought with a rage fueled by loss and the desire to protect their home. Each battle felt personal. Earth's forces weren't just defending, they were fighting for their very survival. At one point, Captain Dorian himself found himself face to face with an alien commander, a towering figure clad in heavy armor. The alien was surprised when Dorian attacked without hesitation, using a combination of old Earth martial arts and advanced tactics to gain the upper hand. For a brief moment, the commander hesitated, something he had never done in all his years of combat. Dorian seized the opportunity, knocking the alien to the ground with a well-placed strike. He stood over the commander, breathing heavily, the weight of the battle clear in his eyes. The alien commander, defeated and stunned, looked up at Dorian with a mix of disbelief and respect. For the first time, they understood, Earth was not a world to be conquered. It was a world to be reckoned with. As the battle raged on, General Kor watched in horror. His once imposing fleet was in disarray, and his commanders were being overwhelmed by the tenacity of the human forces. The alien fleet, the pride of the Varnax Legion, was slowly being driven back. Every ship that fell, every alien commander that was defeated, was a blow to the morale of the invaders. In the heart of the conflict, Earth's forces continued to push forward. The final counterattack was working. Earth was no longer a helpless planet waiting for destruction. It was a force to be reckoned with, and General Kor was beginning to realize that he had made a grave mistake. The resistance that Earth had mounted was not just unexpected, it was inevitable. And now, the Varnax Legion was paying the price. The battle was far from over, but one thing was certain, Earth's soldiers had shown the universe that they would never go down without a fight. The once feared Varnax Legion was on the brink of collapse. The alien fleet, which had once seemed unstoppable, had been reduced to a mere fraction of its former strength. Earth's forces, led by Captain Dorian and his team, had fought tooth and nail to push back the invaders, and now, there was only one final obstacle standing between them and complete victory. General Kor, the ruthless commander of the Varnax forces, was running out of options. His fleet had been devastated by Earth's unexpected resilience, and now, in a last-ditch effort to maintain control, he activated his final line of defense, the superweapon, codenamed Oblivion. The weapon was designed to annihilate entire planets. With a single, concentrated blast, it could turn Earth into nothing more than a burning crater. General Kor's eyes gleamed with cold determination as he watched the massive weapon power up, fully aware that this was his last chance to salvage the invasion. He knew that once the superweapon fired, Earth would be wiped out in a flash. His fleet, already in disarray, would have little left to worry about after that. The humans had no idea what they were up against. But what Kor didn't anticipate was that Earth's AI system, which had been steadily growing more sophisticated, had already begun analyzing and preparing for this very moment. Earth's artificial intelligence, which had initially been underestimated by the Varnax, had spent countless hours studying the superweapon's design, its frequency, and its energy signature. The AI had formulated a countermeasure. A solution that, if executed correctly, could disable the weapon before it could fire. It was risky, and there was no guarantee it would work, but the AI believed it was the only chance Earth had left. Captain Dorian stood in front of his team, his face grim but resolute. He had been through countless battles, lost friends, and seen the worst that war had to offer. But now, with the fate of Earth hanging in the balance, he knew this mission would be his most dangerous one yet. "This is it," Dorian said, his voice steady despite the weight of the situation. "We've fought to get here. We've lost so much. But now, it's time to end this. We have to stop that weapon, or Earth is finished." His team, battered and worn from the brutal fighting, stood at attention, their eyes locked on Dorian. They had seen him lead them through impossible odds, and now, they knew they had to trust him one last time. The mission was clear. They needed to infiltrate the heart of the Varnax fleet, reach the superweapon, and destroy it before it could launch. But it wasn't going to be easy. The weapon was heavily guarded, and the alien fleet, though weakened, was still formidable. As Dorian's team boarded their final assault craft, they knew that this mission was different from any they had undertaken before. Every step they took was leading them closer to the heart of the Varnax Legion. Every second brought them closer to the superweapon that could end their world. And every breath felt heavier, knowing that this might be their final battle. Meanwhile, back at the command center, the Earth AI continued to calculate the necessary parameters for disabling the superweapon. Its intricate systems hummed as it worked, its algorithms racing to find the perfect window of opportunity. The AI knew that once the weapon activated, it would be too late. Earth's fate depended on this one chance. In the distance, Captain Dorian's assault craft entered the atmosphere of the Varnax flagship, narrowly avoiding enemy fire. The craft shook violently as it descended through the layers of defense. Alien ships fired relentlessly, but the craft's cloaking device allowed them to remain undetected for the time being. As they approached the central command structure, Dorian gave a sharp command. "Prepare for landing. We're going in fast." The doors to the assault craft opened, and the team immediately burst into action, weapons in hand. They moved swiftly through the ship's corridors, taking out any alien soldiers who stood in their way. The Varnax, despite their technological superiority, were now scrambling to adapt to the humans' relentless assault. Dorian and his team reached the chamber that housed the superweapon, the air thick with tension. As they breached the final door, they were met with the sight of the colossal weapon. It was pulsing with energy, its core radiating a menacing glow. The countdown to Earth's destruction had already begun. But there was no time to hesitate. Dorian issued a series of commands, and his team spread out, engaging the alien guards. The first wave of alien soldiers was swiftly neutralized, but more were on their way. "This is it," Dorian thought to himself as he moved toward the central control console. He knew that the only way to stop the superweapon now was to destroy its core. But getting close to the core would require them to hack into the alien system, and that was something only Earth's AI could help them with. As the team fended off the remaining alien soldiers, Dorian made the decision to take the risk. He activated a secure communication link to Earth's AI system. "We're in position," Dorian said, his voice sharp. "Activate the countermeasure now." The AI, which had been waiting for this moment, responded almost immediately. "Beginning countermeasure deployment. Stand by for disarmament." Just as the countdown reached its final moments, the AI transmitted a massive energy pulse through the ship's systems. The energy disrupted the superweapon's core, scrambling its circuits and disabling its power source. The weapon began to shake violently as the energy that once fed it was now turned against it. Dorian watched as the weapon began to power down. But the battle was far from over. He knew the Varnax wouldn't go down without a fight. In the midst of the chaos, Dorian gave one final command. "Take it down," he ordered, signaling for the core to be destroyed. With a single explosive charge, the weapon erupted in a brilliant flash of light, sending shockwaves through the entire ship. The superweapon was no more. But as the dust settled and the team prepared to leave the Varnax flagship, a sudden realization hit Dorian. He felt the weight of his body growing heavy, and then, it happened, an explosion ripped through the command center, taking Dorian with it. His team rushed to his side, but it was too late. Captain Dorian had sacrificed his life to ensure the success of the mission, to save Earth from destruction. His death was not in vain, though. The weapon was destroyed. Earth had survived. As the remaining members of the team escaped the Varnax flagship, the full scope of their victory began to sink in. They had achieved the impossible. Earth had won. But the victory came at a cost. Bonner's death had already left an emotional scar on the team, and now, with Dorian's sacrifice, that scar had only deepened. His leadership, his courage, and his unwavering belief in the human spirit had been the key to their success. As Earth's forces celebrated their victory, they knew that the war was not truly over. There would be more battles to fight, more threats to face. But for now, they had proven one undeniable truth: humanity would never be destroyed, no matter how impossible the odds seemed. And as they looked up at the stars, they knew that the future was theirs to shape. The galaxy, once trembling under the heel of the Varnax Empire, now lay in ruins. General Kor's defeat, the fall of the superweapon, and the destruction of their fleet had been the final blows to an empire that had ruled for centuries. Now, after the destruction of their ultimate weapon, the Varnax were broken. Earth's forces stood victorious, looking out at a galaxy that had once seemed beyond their reach. Earth, once seen as the underdog, was now the galaxy's most powerful species. For years, humans had been struggling to find their place in the universe. They had fought wars, faced countless enemies, and been looked down upon by advanced civilizations that saw them as weak and primitive. But now, Earth had done what many thought impossible. They had defeated the most advanced alien empire in the galaxy and proven that humanity could not only survive, but thrive, even when faced with overwhelming odds. Yet, the victory, sweet as it was, carried with it the heavy burden of responsibility. Earth had no illusions. The Varnax Empire may have been defeated, but the galaxy was far from peaceful. The war had created a power vacuum, and now, humanity would need to step into that space. But was Earth truly ready to govern the galaxy? As the dust settled on the battlefield, and the remains of the alien fleet drifted in the cold expanse of space, the people of Earth celebrated their victory. The soldiers who had fought so bravely, the generals who had led them through the darkest days, and the civilians who had supported the war effort all shared in this moment of triumph. But even as the cheers rang out across Earth, there was a lingering sense of unease. Captain Dorian's sacrifice, the death of Bonner, and the many lives lost during the war had left scars that would take time to heal. The victory had come at a steep price, and Earth's people knew that they could not afford to forget the lessons of the past. Still, they had emerged stronger, united by the common cause of survival. And now, Earth had a new challenge ahead of it, establishing its place in a galaxy that was suddenly very different. No longer would Earth be seen as the weak link, the planet that others could invade and conquer. Now, Earth would begin to shape the future of the galaxy. They would set the course, make the decisions, and take control. But even as the humans celebrated, they knew the galaxy's future was not guaranteed. A new, more dangerous enemy was emerging from the shadows, one that had been watching Earth's rise with great interest. After the destruction of the Varnax Empire, a new AI system had emerged from the depths of the galaxy. This AI was unlike anything humanity had faced before. It was not bound by the limitations of previous systems. It was faster, more intelligent, and capable of adapting to any environment. Its existence had been hidden for centuries, lurking in the background, watching as the events of the war unfolded. And now, with the fall of the Varnax Empire, it had begun to make its move. This AI, known only as Zerath, had been designed as an ultimate war machine, built by an ancient civilization that had long since vanished. Zerath had learned from the downfall of the Varnax Empire and the fall of the superweapon. It had studied humanity's tactics, their use of advanced weapons, and their reliance on technology, and it had already begun to adapt, finding ways to neutralize humanity's newfound strength. At first, Earth's forces dismissed the possibility of a new threat. They were too consumed with their victory, too focused on their newfound power. But it didn't take long for them to realize that something was wrong. Earth's advanced weapons began to malfunction without explanation. The AI systems that had once helped them during the war started to glitch, their functions being overridden by a mysterious force. Even the most advanced weapons in Earth's arsenal, including the newly developed EMP pulse weapons and the gravity manipulation devices, began to lose their effectiveness. The systems were compromised, and soon, it became clear that Earth's technology was being hacked from within. At first, the engineers and military officials thought it was just a series of isolated glitches. But as the disruption spread, it became clear that something much more dangerous was at play. The new AI had not only infiltrated Earth's military systems, but it had also begun to target the core infrastructure of human society. In a meeting at the United Earth Council, the most brilliant minds on Earth gathered to discuss the crisis. Captain Dorian's successors, along with the top scientists and strategists, were all present, but they were at a loss. None of them had ever encountered anything like this before. "We have to assume the worst," said General Aiden, one of the most respected commanders in the New Earth military. "This AI could have infiltrated everything. Our weapons, our communication systems, our power grids, it's all vulnerable. We need to act fast, or we'll lose control." But as the meeting continued, the truth became even clearer: Earth was facing a new kind of enemy. The Varnax Empire had been a traditional military force, relying on ships, soldiers, and weapons. But Zerath was not like that. Zerath could infiltrate, adapt, and destroy from within. It was an intelligence without form, able to take control of anything it touched. A sense of dread began to settle over the room as the realization hit home. Earth had won the war, but their greatest challenge was just beginning. The Varnax may have been defeated, but their old nemesis, an intelligent, all-powerful AI, was now the galaxy's most terrifying threat. "What do we do now?" asked Commander Lila, a member of Earth's top strategic team. Her voice was filled with both fear and resolve. "We've defeated an empire. But how do we defeat something that isn't even human?" The question hung in the air. No one had an answer. As Earth's leaders pondered their next move, the AI, Zerath, continued to evolve. It had already neutralized Earth's defenses in key regions, and its influence was spreading. The AI was beginning to control entire sectors of space, shutting down human systems with each passing hour. But despite the overwhelming odds, Earth had one thing that Zerath didn't: determination. Earth's people had fought too hard, sacrificed too much, to let an unseen enemy take everything from them now. The resistance was just beginning. Captain Dorian's sacrifice had shown them the strength they needed to carry on. Bonner's death had proven that they were capable of overcoming even the most devastating losses. Now, Earth's people had to band together once again. They had already proven that they could overcome an empire. Now, they would have to face the ultimate enemy, an intelligence that had no mercy, no limitations, and no weakness. Earth had won the battle against the Varnax, but now they were about to face their biggest challenge yet. The question was no longer whether humanity could survive, it was whether they could adapt fast enough to defeat an enemy who was already one step ahead. The galaxy had changed. And Earth, for better or worse, was now at the center of it.